So the aim behind this panel is really to familiarise yourself with roles that are in tech that aren't necessarily software engineering. So it's very common in tech companies to be working with a group of people, and those groups of people will all have different roles. And so the idea behind this panel is just to get you familiar with some roles that you may work with if and when you join a tech company. And the idea is that you ask them questions. I haven't prepared that many because I really want this to be your contributions, your questions. So if you've got questions for our panelists, do start dropping them into the chat now, and I will ask our panelists. Let's start. Judith, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yes, sure. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for being here, for your time. My name is Judith. I'm working as an IT recruiter. That it means that I'm one of the people who is involved during the selection process. I'm doing the first interview for all candidates. So my main role inside the company is to introduce the company, understand what's the motivations and the expectations of the people, and explain a little bit more about the company, the selection process, and let's check if there is any possibility to collaborate with the company now or in the future. I started in IT recruitment in 2016. Previously, I was working as a social worker for a long time, so I switched completely my professional career. And it was because the social sector was hit very hard because of the economical crisis. So I decided to switch my focus, my professional focus, and I decided to go to the IT sector and start as a recruiter.
Cool, thank you so much. We have a lot of career changes here at codebar, so I think I'm going to anticipate that you'll get quite a lot of questions on that. Miriam, do you want to go next?
Yes, hello everyone, I'm Miriam. I'm a software engineer. I've been working as a software engineer for 3 years, since 2018. Before I was an administrative in a very small family company, and I changed it because it was not enough challenge, and I really like a good puzzle and a good challenge, and working as a software engineer is giving me that. Every day I need to learn new things, and I will continue learning, I think, in all my career. So it was something that I was looking for because I was bored doing my last job. My role in the company, well, I built our product. So I'm kind of the last step because we have designers, we have researchers, we have product managers. But the ones that build the product are the software engineers, and I work in frontend. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. Anna, would you like to go next?
Hello, good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I hope you find this interesting. I'm really excited to have you all. So I'm a docs writer, tech docs writer. I've been in Relic for 2.5 years, and I've been working as a technical writer for like 8-9 years. I started in 2014. Before I was in the telecoms telecom sector, working as a consultant and a market researcher. I decided, I'm also like someone who changed careers. I decided to start working as a technical writer because in many of my jobs, I ended up doing a lot of the writing, and I got hooked, and I really like my job a lot. If anyone has questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But I really enjoy working as a technical writer because it gives me the chance to talk to many teams, talk to many people, see all aspects of the product, change from project to project. So I'm not stuck doing the same thing every day because, you know, I work in a dog and then change and work with a different team. So I get to meet a lot of people, get to talk to a lot of people, get to learn about the company very thoroughly. And also it's very gratifying because usually, and Miriam, correct me if I'm wrong, engineers are not very fond of writing. So when you help them produce a dog and you get all the tasks and the course out of the way, they're very happy to collaborate with you. So it's a very collaborative effort, team effort, and it's very, very enjoyable.
Thank you so much. Helena, would you like to go next?
Yes, thanks. Hello, everyone. I am Helena, and I work as a product manager at New Relic. I studied telecom engineering about 20 years ago. And at the time, my first job was as an operator. At the time, no, the smartphones didn't exist, and our job was to configure routers, configure email servers, and things that are so basic nowadays. So at some point, I applied for a developer job, but well, the person that interviewed me that day was the CEO of the software company. And of course, they didn't accept me because I wasn't prepared for the job, because I was more of the network side and not a developer. But fortunately, in that software company, they had later, some months later, they had a position for a researcher in strong authentication, digital identity, and things that were very fashion when the social networks were starting. So I started as a researcher in that company. And some years later, they founded the first product management group in that software company. So I learned marketing stuff, and that's when I became a software product manager in 2012. Some years later, I started in New Relic, and then that was when I first started to work in a big software company, which is thrilling and exciting, and I would love to talk more about this later. So that's basically it. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, what does a product manager do? We decide what the product should do. So we decide what we need to build in the company for our customers.
Cool. Thank you so much. You just answered my second question, which was, now that you've all introduced yourself, I would like you to explain what your job is, and in particular, how you would potentially work with developers in your company as well. So I'll open it up to anyone.
I can start.
Yep.
So my job is really very easy. We have like teams of really skilled people who develop new features and new products. And we have some users that need to use those products. So we need to explain our users how to use them. And that's where we step in. So basically, usually, for instance, I work with Helena a lot. She comes to me and she's like, Anna, we're about to launch this new thing. So how can we sit and figure out a way to explain to our users? So then I work with Helena, or with, depending on the team, I may work with an engineer directly, and we create a draft on what we want to communicate to our users. So I need their content, because of course I'm not the person who developed whatever we want to communicate. So the engineering team with the PMs, and sometimes even with the help of people from marketing, they deliver a draft to me. And then that's when I work my magic, which is like, I'm knowledgeable on editing, language. We do have a lot of like a writing style guide in the company. So I need to make sure that whatever raw content I'm being given becomes something that our users are going to be happy reading and will help them understand. Because sometimes, what comes from engineering is very logical and very machinery, but it's not something that it's not what a final document looks like. So my job is to translate engineering language into something people can read and enjoy reading, and it's useful for them. So, and we usually iterate. So based on the draft I'm given, I work on it, I structure it, I add like new content, I curate the language, I add images, I check with my stakeholders if that's what they meant, this is what they want to deliver. We agree on a final doc, and then we publish, and that's how it goes. And then next thing.
Thank you so much. Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Okay.
Well, my main responsibility is I'm working with different people inside the company. I'm working with internal people and external people because I'm the person who is guiding the candidates and the people who is applying to our jobs. So I need to understand very good the teams, the needs of the teams, understand what's the team structure, understand what the team is searching for, and understand as well what it's the candidate searching for, what's their expectations and their knowledge, and try to set both sides. I'm guiding the people through all the selection process, and I'm coordinating all the efforts to try to do our best for both sides, for people who is hiring and for people who is searching for a new job. So I'm a kind of bridge from the teams to outside, and from people who is coming outside to the teams.
Cool, thank you so much. Who wants to go next?
I can go. Okay. So the product manager is the person that takes care of the product since the company decides that they need to solve a problem for customers until that product is in the market. So we get to collaborate with anyone involved in that process. So the most important stakeholder here is the customer themselves. So we first need to talk to them, understand what they need, what is the job they need to do, and how we can make them more productive or more happy and in whatever they want to do. That can be in playing a game or in being more productive in their data. Then we work with researchers, we work with designers to figure out how does the user experience, how it should look like. Then we work with engineers, we take all those requirements that we think that the product should have, we get them to the engineers and architects, and we define the solution together. So we say what needs to be done, the product manager says that, and then engineers will say how that will be built, but we need to keep in sync with them. Then at some point, we take that back to the customers again. We allow them to test our products. We iterate on those products, and then it's when we talk to Anna and we define the technical documentation. And that is not finished yet because we need to take that to the market. So we need to talk to the product marketeers and to sales and explain to them how they need to sell that to the customers. So, and the loop starts again. No? So it's super interesting because we are like interpreters. We need to talk to all these different roles and explain to them what needs to be built and make all the journey successful. So it's super interesting.
Lots of people in that process, it sounds.
Yeah.
Miriam, would you like to go next?
Yeah, as Helena was saying, no, we are kind of the last part of all the process. We are the ones that we are building the product, so we iterate on the best way, the most performance way, the way that we can make it easy for the customers, that they can understand, and also technically in a way that it's working fine. And it doesn't have any issues for our customers. No, we work of course, as Anna was saying, with the copywriters. We also work with the recruitment to prepare the interviews, talk about the candidates. Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right, well, we've got some questions that have been coming in now. I've seen quite a few come in, so I'll put the few that I have aside, and I'm just gonna dive straight into answering, the people's here questions, because they're way more interesting than mine. And so the first one I'm 40 years old and I have vast experience in social sciences, research, and then data management, quantitative and qualitative methods. I've been a university lecturer for 15 years and I'm an active filmmaker. I know the basics of HTML, CSS and JavaScript and love the sector, but don't have experience in it. I can't afford an entry-level job as I have financial obligations. Is there any hope for someone like me to enter the sector? If yes, what roles should I be looking for? And I'll open that up to anyone.
Well, my recommendation, it's maybe entrance as in a small company, in a startup, where the person can develop different skills and can develop different kind of roles. And I think that, well, this person can apport a lot, maybe in the researcher area. We have some roles inside the company that it's, well, we call researchers. And this previous experience in research, data management, qualitative and quantitative methods are very valued for this kind of roles. So maybe a researcher profile or researcher position could be a good fit for this person, or maybe check a small company, startup company, where this person can, of course, do a lot of things working in front end and working in research areas. So I think that this person has good chances because, well, I can see good things as that the person can afford. But yeah, that will be my recommendation.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have anything to add?
When I did the change, when I changed careers, I was also needed to take care of financial, my rent. I needed to pay my bills, and yeah, it's sometimes it's scary, and you are comfortable in your position. I was in this small company, but I was having my good salary. I was comfortable. If it's what you really want to do, just maybe you need to take this small risk. It will worth it. For me, it was it, and my salary increased. I'm more happy now. I have more work stability because it's a field that there are a lot of opportunities. So yeah, I will recommend, if possible, take the risk because it's really worth it. And after that, you will have a lot of possibilities.
Thank you. Anyone else? Cool. Thank you. I also think using something like codebar, where the workshops are free, on top of your job, so that you don't quit your job and just jump straight into tech. Use something like codebar. It's free, and just you look for as much free stuff out there as possible whilst you're teaching yourself. I think is a really valuable thing to do as well. Okay, we've got a question for Judith. What tips or tricks would you recommend for making your personal statement / CV stand out when you are transitioning into tech from a different career? It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. Yeah, well, my recommendation, first of all, I think that if you're doing this transition, the best thing that you have to do is to take some trainings and learnings. So try to get some extra skills. It's always valuable. And actually, it's something that in IT, it's something that you have to do always because IT is changing very fast, IT sector. So my recommendation, first of all, it will be applied for positions that you think that you can afford some value. Okay, so not apply to everywhere, to all positions. You need to understand what is required in each position, and try to evaluate yourself and try to maybe modify your CV according what you can afford to that position. So check what's the position searching for. So evaluate yourself, asking to yourself what I can apport to this role and to this position, and develop the CV or according to that. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you so much.
May I add something? I think that explaining what you learned from your previous working experiences is useful, because maybe you needed to be accountable, you needed to do a lot of teamwork, which is super important in our companies. So anything that can show how you do things and not necessarily what you've done, but how you did them is interesting. And then even if you don't have a lot of working experience as a developer or a technical person, maybe you have coded something and you have a public web page, or you have a profile in GitHub. So linking those places where people can see samples of your work is super interesting as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, next question. Question for Miriam. Would you say any aspects of your art history background helped or hindered your transition into tech? I'm an orchestral violinist looking for a much more challenging and long-term career.
Oh, yeah, nice question. I don't think that actually my studies in art influenced or helped me to be a software engineer. I think it was more like not what I studied, so how I studied that. So I was, if this person thinks that it's someone that wants challenge, I don't think it will be easy to be orchestral violinist. So I think it will need effort. It will require effort. It will require that you want you like the challenge. And for me, it's more when I was studying history or when I was studying web development. For me, it was like I really want to do that. I'm gonna spend the time necessary. I'm gonna put the effort to make it happen. So to arrive wherever you want to arrive, you need that effort, no? And I think it's what this person can use it to arrive to that, to orchestral violinist. I guess it needs a lot of studies. It needs a lot of hours investing to make this happen. So I will say that if you already have this predisposition to make these things happen and study and learn, and it will help you to get a career in IT or any other thing in your life.
Cool, thank you so much. Okay, next question. I'm currently doing my A-levels and I plan on going into software engineering. What would you say is a real challenge for women in tech, and how can it be overcome? And I'll open that up to anyone.
I wouldn't say there's a special challenge in the fact of being a woman in tech. It's just that you need to live with it. And the challenge is that depends more on persons and the personality of each one of us, and not so much on being a woman or not. So what I mean by that is that when you are in a room with 6 people, some people talk more, some people talk less, and then at some point you need to speak up, you need to tell your opinion and contribute to a decision. I don't think that we have a challenge that we are not listened to because we are women. No, I think that this is from the past. I think our companies, the software companies in particular, are very open. They are trying to make us feel very comfortable there. So I don't think this is a problem nowadays, or there might be exceptions, but I don't think that's the general rule. And it's more that we need to be strong enough as people in general to yeah, to be part of teams and show our work. Yeah, that would be a recommendation in any case. Explain what you're doing, show your work, show the effort that you're putting in everything that you do in that company, because when the time of promotion or whatever comes, they won't care if you're a woman or a man, but they will care about your work. So never be afraid of self-promoting yourself in the good sense, if you want.
Yeah, I agree with Helena. I studied telecoms engineering like she did. So I'm used to being the only girl in a class with like 80 people. So I don't notice it anymore. So it's never been a big issue. My personal experience, like 20 odd years in the sector, is that in general, people have no problem. You may encounter the occasional person who has, a hard time dealing with women, but that's an exception more than a rule. But I totally agree with what she just said, Helena just said, that something I think as women, we usually are not as good as men is in like selling ourselves. So I don't know, this is a very complex issue and it's been talked about like many times, but in general, my sense is that culturally we are told to be quieter and not make as much noise, and we need to be better at that. That's why many times maybe like promotions skip women and go to men. It's because like we did the same job or even a better job, but we sucked at being confident about it. So especially to younger girls out there, just trust yourself, be self-confident, and fight for what you deserve, because that's, and maybe, I don't know, in the UK, but in Latin countries, that's definitely the case, where a lot of times we hear the message, and it's part of the social culture, that we should not be noisy and we should not speak out, and that's something we need to improve as a collective. But again, I don't think it's a big issue to be a woman, especially in tech companies. There's a big culture on being open and supportive of all like minorities. Go for it.
Yeah, and something I completely agree with both of you. And I think that visibility, it's one of the main keys to go through this topic, because for a long time, women hasn't visibility in IT sector, or we didn't problematic some things that we take as a nature thing. So now we are more open to speak around different topics. And I think that that's one of the main keys to continue improving in that area.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to add anything else because they say everything. For me, it's important that we have more women and the visibility, and also that you find these roles everywhere. I've been heard recently, someone told me you are the first woman software engineer I ever met, someone that has been in the industry for some years. So it's weird because we are half the population in the world. So there will be more women in any of the roles. So it's important that in the interviews, in the process of recruiting, when you enter in a company, you have colleagues, you have people there that make you feel that, okay, I'm in the right place. Nothing is wrong here. If you enter to a company that everyone or your team the team next to you, when you are doing the recruitment process, everyone that is interviewing you are all men, you will feel a little bit like weird there. So it's important that we have women in all the process and in companies, so you feel more that you belong to the IT, no? You belong in IT.
Yeah. I think it's also important as well, if you do need to say something to someone because, you know, something's happened at work, make sure you know who the person is you need to go to. Because I got into a situation where I didn't know who my person was. And that was actually that was worse than the thing that had actually happened, because I didn't know who the person was that I was going to speak to. So yeah, find the person in your company who you would go to if you needed to say something. I love that someone said, it's not bragging, it's just facts. No, it's not bragging if it's facts, which I quite like. And someone has also recommended the I Am Remarkable program, which thank you, Vic, for putting a link. I've heard of a few people going to that over the years, and I've heard really positive things about it. And so, okay, next question. This isn't a question, but someone said, I'm interested to learn about technical writing. My background is in publishing, so I'm comfortable with words. So do you have any advice, Anna, for someone who maybe wants to get into technical writing? Like what could they do next?
Well, it's already been mentioned, train and get acquainted with like the technology sector first, so you show interest in the area. I can talk about my personal experience. Again, I come from telecoms, which, okay, it's technical, but it was not software development. And I was lucky enough that I met someone who's like hiring for a technical writer. It was the first technical writer in their company. It was a software development company. And, you know, I met with them and I told them, I was very honest. It was like, okay, I don't have like a, you know, proper experience as a technical writer, but I've been doing a lot of the writing in my former jobs, a lot of documentation. I love it. I really enjoy working on docs. I really like talking to people and, you know, grabbing the main things that need to go on paper. Well, not paper anymore, of course, but, you know, the main things that need to be delivered in terms of content and communication. I'm good at it. And he sort of like trusted me and gave me the opportunity. So don't give up. Something I think Judith already said, like tweak your resume and, you know, so it matches, you know, what the company, don't use the same resume all the time. Like, do the minor changes that you know will make you more attractive to the company you're applying for, and be honest. And if you're good with words, if you enjoy like writing and you enjoy documenting because you like it, you feel it's not nothing out of the ordinary, but it is, because people really hate documenting. So it's a great asset. And that's what you need to sell, your passion for writing, the fact that you enjoy writing, the fact that, you know, when you finish a document and it makes sense and it has a nice structure and a nice flow and people read it and come back to you and they're like, oh, I really enjoy your document because, you know, I really understood what I need to do. And you actually get thrilled about that. That's what you need to sell, because that's what you're, you know, giving to the company. You're actually willing to do the job a lot of people hate doing, which is documenting. That's what you have to sell. That's been my experience, and it's the way it is. It's, if you enjoy documenting and this is like something you gravitate towards in any position, because, you know, usually say you're in a team and a lot of people and a document needs to go out and no one wants to do it because people hate documenting, and you are the one that ends up doing it. That's what you need to sell if you're trying to get into the world and you don't have any former experience. I hope that helped. If you have any other question, please let me know.
I would add something, Anna, here. You are not doing your job because other people hate doing that job. I would say that writing technical documents is actually crucial for the success of a product, because when users need to know how to use a product, they want a document or they want to go to a help link and understand quickly what they need to do. And they want to get the information as soon as possible. And that actually is a ton of work. It is. So I'm trying to tell everyone that this is not an easy task. And it's not about just using words and doing long documents. No, it's much better to have a short document that actually solves your problem, because that can only be done when the technical writer puts themselves in the shoes of the user that is trying to accomplish a job with that product, and then writes what they need to do. So it's not an easy task.
No, totally. Like, the faster a document reads, the longer it took to write. that's basic. Like you're telling a story, and the more time you spend, there's this quote I love. I think it's by Abraham Lincoln that like, if I had 8 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend 6 hours fixing the axe. And that's what technical documentation is. You spend a lot of time thinking about your dog, and when you produce something that has a flow and has a rhythm and it reads and no one gets stuck in any section, that's because you spend a long time thinking about it. But you need to enjoy doing that. That's what's good about technical writers. Like we love that challenge. Maybe Miriam, her challenge is a complete different challenge. Your challenge is complete different challenge. If you're interested in technical writer, that's going to be your challenge. Like you want to produce something that people will enjoy reading and will be, oh, this was very helpful. It was not like a hard read. It was pleasant.
Yeah. You can quite quickly get a bit of experience. I say, I'm going to quote technical writing, but there's lots of documentation online through open source. So open source is when someone puts their code out there and people can contribute it. And there's lots of terrible documentation out there that actually, if you learn the real basics of Git, which is creating a branch, doing a pull request, you can actually start contributing to docs that are already out there. There could be typos, it could be grammar. And actually then that's really good evidence to say, okay, I don't have any industry experience, but I've contributed to 10 open source projects, and here's me giving back to the community, but also contributing to technical documentation. And that's a really good way to start to familiarize yourself, I think, with technical documentation as well.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, next question. Question to Judith. I have a very similar background, also did psychology and worked in social services. I'm changing career now. Which transversal skills are most valuable and can help to stand out?
Good question. For sure, teamwork ability. I think that that's one of the key main skills that you need to work as a team. Communication skills are very important as well. I think that problem solver skills could be very useful as well, because you're going to deal with a lot of different, you have to be very adaptive. If you wanted to change your professional background, you have to be a problem solver person, because you're going to face a lot of different challenges. So yeah, it's very important, and resilience as well. I think that it's an important skill to point. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Our next question is for Helena. Could you give us some examples of projects you have managed recently, if you're allowed, because they could be secret, and what kind of projects does your company provide? Also, how much code/programming knowledge do you need to be a good product manager?
Yeah, many questions here. So yeah, examples of projects. For context, New Relic is a company that provides a monitoring platform for other companies that build their own software, so they can know how their own applications are doing. So when I joined New Relic, the first project I was assigned was bringing data into New Relic from the cloud, such as AWS or Azure or Google Cloud platform. And yeah, that was one of my first assignments. It's starting the gathering data from Google Cloud. So yeah, I needed to understand how those APIs work. I need to understand all the concepts, but I don't need to know how to program. It's good if I can do some scripts, if I can understand JavaScript, HTML, of course, if I can do SQL queries, basic stuff, but nobody will expect from me that I read code. So I don't need to. Sometimes some engineers told me I only read code and I don't talk to people. I only communicate with code, but no. In the end, I can communicate with them without the code thing in the middle. And then, yeah, what kind of projects the company provides? Well, basically in all companies, there are two kinds of product managers. Ones are normally building stuff for the end users, building a game, a monitoring platform, something that the end users will use. And there are some other product managers that build stuff for other teams to build stuff for companies, for customers, right? So those roles for the people, for the product managers that are doing platform things, they need to be more aware of the development processes, all the CI/CD pipelines. Those are more related to the architecture that software needs. While if you are working for the end user, you need to be very aware of the problem space that you are addressing. In my case, now it's monitoring. So anything that our customers need to monitor their own applications. In my previous job, it was a strong authentication. So anything that companies expected to authenticate their own users. In other cases, it could be building a game. So it's knowing exactly what you need to provide to the users of that game to have them spend a lot of time playing. No? So that's basically what your job will be.
Thank you so much. Our next question is for Miriam. How did you make the transition to software engineering?
So, well, as I was saying, I was bored in my last job, and what I did is I start thinking what I could do, what other things I'm good at, or and yeah, I had a friend, and he was also engineer, and he told me, why don't you try to learn some programming language, because I'm kind of good at learning languages. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try it, and I love it. So the first thing I did is was inscribing myself to do a technical degree, and I was studying my technical degree while working for 3 years, more or less. And then after that, I did a boot camp. Boot camps is this intensive courses that they teach you programming. I had a background already at that point because I had my technical degree. But what they do at the end in these boot camps is they prepare you for the interviews. They prepare you for a real environment of working, and they provide some interviews with companies. The good thing of that is that instead of going for an internship, that it was the end of the technical degree is going for an internship, I was already having a junior position because of the boot camp. So it's how I finished working in tech.
Thank you so much. And if anyone is interested in doing a boot camp, we've actually got 6 spaces. Well, makers are offering a scholarship to 6 people from the codebar community. You don't have to be based in London or the UK. You just have to be able to work 9 to 5 UK time. And so I will drop a link now into the Medium blog post if, you know, similar to Miriam, you're interested in doing a boot camp. Okay, next question to Miriam again. How can you really make yourself stand out from other candidates when it comes to software engineering? This is probably a good question for Judith as well, actually. So I'll ask you both.
I don't know. I think I'm just very passionate about this, so I changed career because I really wanted to do it. It's not easy. So it's it was not easy to arrive here. So I think when I'm going to interviews or when I'm explaining my story or when I'm trying to get the job, I think the interviewers feel how passionate I'm about it. I'm willing to learn all the time. And companies, they really want this kind of people, not only people with a lot of expertise, but they are also looking for people like me, people that are curious, that they want to learn. and they want challenges because it's not all the knowledge I have, or it's more, sometimes it's the knowledge I can acquire there. So that I'm willing to work in teams, I'm willing to learn, and I think this what it makes difference maybe between me and other candidates, not that I really express this to the interviewers, and yeah, I think it's what it's my key point.
Yeah, I completely agree with Miriam. Something that that it's really evaluated during the interviews. It's this predisposition to learn and to keep growing, and be interested in the company that you are doing the interviews. It's always a good point. So check the website or check the projects that this company is working on. So it's going to show an extra interest about the position and about the company, and shows this interest in learning and keep growing, and this passion about what you are doing. This is something that it's really evaluated in the interviews. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Our next question. It's often said that in tech, you need a computer science degree to become a developer, which is not the case at all. So what advice would you give to someone to increase their chances of getting hired if they don't have a computer science degree? And that's to anyone.
I think that there are a lot of different ways to learn, and it's not necessary to go for the university. So something that I think that it's playing in our favor is that we are living in a world that we have access to a lot of different information through internet, through different courses, trainings, books. So it's not always about just having a title or a degree, but where there are a lot of different tools, free tools as well. So yeah, I really encourage people to search around internet and search maybe for different meetups and conferences and this kind of places where you can learn a lot, and it's not necessary to have a technical degree.
Yeah. Anyone else? No. Okay, question for Anna. Is there any advice you could give to someone who would like to make a career change to technical writing that has no experience at all, and any technical courses or preparation that might be helpful?
Well, I think I covered this a little bit already, but yeah, show interest. Probably in your former positions, you've had to document. So highlight that in your resume. Say, okay, I was working as a market researcher or whatever, or as anything works. But I was responsible for documenting, because these days every position needs documents. So if that's what you've been taking care of because that's your interest, highlight that, sell that. Interviews, and that Judith probably knows this more than myself, but you're selling yourself as a product. So that's what you need to make relevant for the person who's interviewing you, that the fact that you may not have a proper experience as a technical writer, but you've done a lot of writing for your positions. That's something you're interested in, that's something you enjoy doing, and that's where you can give value to the company, because you may not know about the specific technology, but and you've taken care of the craft of writing. Writing is, identifying the main point you want to cover. It's about sending the right message. It's about making a document it's a story that flows and the reader is interested. So you know that part of the job. You may not know the technical part, but you can learn because you're interested. Again, showing interest is key here. But that's how I did it, and it worked. And I know other people who've finished in technical writing and they didn't have the experience at first. No one knows learning, so is more known. Just go for it. There is a community called Write the Dogs. they organize conferences, they organize trainings. They have a very strong Slack community, so you can join there and ask for advice, ask for things. Like they organize a lot of events in many regions in the world. So that's a good starting point as well.
Cool, thank you. I think also if you can follow a few people on Twitter or something that maybe are technical writers, because I know I follow someone called Rachel and she works at Facebook and she does all the technical documentation for React and React Native. And she often puts things out there where she's like, oh, I'd love it if someone could review this and look at this. And so, and again, it's about like, you know, getting involved and joining the community. So then in your interview, you've got something to say of, oh, I've also done this and contributed to this and helped, you know, this person review the docs at their company. So it's worth, you know, giving those people a follow as well, if you can find out who they are. And, you know, when they put something maybe on Twitter that they're looking for people to review, you know, you can go, oh, me.
Yeah, there's a strong sense of community in the sector. So
yeah,
if you're new, you know, trying to join the community, trying to be part of the community, it's very relevant, and it's something that makes you stand out.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Next question. When making the jump into a web dev job and taking an initial salary cut to do that, do salaries increase at a relatively quick rate? And that's to everyone.
I guess that depends on the company, and I guess that depends on on their policy or the moment that you enter the company. To be honest, when I entered in New Relic, I think that well, that's what I was told. I was placed in a position that was probably a little below what my actual experience was. So my first raise came very quickly because the company realized that I was prepared to do the next level now. So if the company is fair, they will take that into consideration. I think our reviews are per year, not 6 months, but I know that some companies have it every 6 months, or at least they do a check to readjust if they see that someone is not at the right level and they deserve more. But that completely depends on the moment. And I'm not sure if in COVID times that is so easy.
Yeah, I had the same as Helena. When I entered as a junior, and in a few months, I think it was the first review, I get promoted to software engineer. Yeah, it was the same. So it depends the company. In my previous company, for me, get a rise was more complicated. So I needed to, so I needed to like fight it a lot more. So it depends how the company evaluates you, and I'm happy at least at New Relic. It's usually very fair, and cannot complain.
Yeah, completely agree. Depends of the company, but I think that as well it depends of the ability of the person to adapt to the new environment and to speed up the process to entrance in a job as well. So I think that it's a combination of different factors, but for sure depends a lot of the company and of the policies of the companies. Yeah.
I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but most companies in our sector involve other team members in this decision of who deserves a promotion. It's not that they are directly asked about that, but I think that every 6 months we are asked for 360 reviews of our teammates or the people that we work with. So in the same way that we need to give our opinion on how our teammates are doing and what they excel at or what they could be improving, the same applies to us. They are asked about us. So it's not only our manager's opinion here, but also other teammates and even the leadership sometimes if we interact with them at some point. So that's also a relevant thing.
It's a great question to also ask in an interview, you know, at that dreaded moment at the end when the company goes, have you got any questions? You know, you can ask, like, what does career progression look like in this company? Like, how often do I get reviews? How often do I have one-to-one meetings with feedback? And it's all very valid, good stuff to ask. Because again, if they say, you know, we're a really flat hierarchy, there isn't really, you know, senior devs, mid devs, we're all just developers. You may be like, well, you know, I want somewhere that's got that very clear, you know, career progression. So yeah, I recommend asking it in your interview, you know, when they say, have you got any questions, and that will, you know, give you an idea of that. Okay, next question. I've just got a foundation degree in IT. I passed this course part-time whilst working. I can top up for a BSc IT, but cannot commit to the hours of studies on top of a full-time job. I only have one uni project under my belt, which is my uni project. I feel I am ready to fit a front-end dev now, but don't always find jobs that require the skills I currently have. What advice can you give me to get this job? Also, I did make myself a public web page. Is it a bad thing to apply without? So.
I don't have any public web page. My GitHub, my personal GitHub, it's starving now because I spend all my hours coding for my company. So I'm not really working in own projects. And we have always this, you need to have a lot of own projects to show when you go on interviews. And it's like, I'm working 8 hours every day coding. I really don't have more time. I have other hobbies, so I like to do other things and not only coding. So sometimes if you don't have that, it's not a problem. And regarding the skills, when I entered into New Relic, I applied for a position. They sent me the code challenge and the requirements. And when I was reading the code, it said, I don't know how to do this. So they will not have me, but they said, I know how to do it in a different way. So I'm gonna just make the code challenge in a different way, the way I know how to do it. And yeah, I tried. So they changed me to another position because I show another skills that fit more for another position that was not the one that I applied. So just try it, even if you are not having completely all the requirements, all the skills they are asking, just you have some, if you have some skills, maybe they need someone with your skills. So just try it.
Cool. Does anyone else have anything to add to that before I move on? Cool. Okay. So our next question is about tech documentation again. From what I've seen, usually lots of engineers do write their documentation progressively as a team. So usually there isn't a specific role for it, or does that depend on the company?
It depends on the company, but it's becoming more and more common to have a team of technical writers in bigger companies, because documentation, this is something, for instance, we've been noticing lately a lot, is the entry point for a lot of customers. So beyond just documenting what a feature does, or APIs or internal documentation development teams may have, it's a selling point. So it needs to have, certain characteristics that make it professional. And that's why you need specialized people who focus beyond the content, focus on a style guide, focus on a tone for the company. So all documents, we have over 2,000 documents in our public doc site. So those documents need to look kind of the same in terms of tone, in terms of language, in terms of how issues are addressed and explained. And you need, dedicated people to do that. So usually bigger companies do have teams of technical writers. And as I explained earlier, even though we base our docs on what development teams give us, because of course we're not the people who created something, so we don't know what it does, and we need people to explain that to us. Our job goes beyond just documenting the things, like roughly documenting and explaining. Like, we give it a certain layers of content and of use of language that are very important, that professionalize our docs, makes them, selling points. So our salespeople, our pre-sales teams can use them to reach out to customers and explain what our products do.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me, but I was going to say thanks. I was going to say, does it depend if you're in a company that has a consumer-facing product then? Because if you're in a company that's product is only internal, they wouldn't need to give consumers information, then it would be all
internal documents. You don't really need a technical writer maybe, but a lot of companies, even like companies that do business to business, if you have APIs that you may not have like end customers, but still you have users of your product that need to learn about how your product does. It's always helpful if you have the extra hand of the technical writer, because as I said, it's not just like delivering the message, it's also like shaping that message so it's user for whoever is reading the doc.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Okay. There's lots of questions coming in about documentation, and we've got another one. Tips and suggestions in order to write great documentation, also tricks to navigate difficult documentation.
That's a good one. When you're writing, think of the reader. So and be empathetic and think of yourself as the person who's going to read that doc. So don't write something that has like no paragraphs and it's just a bulk of text without breathing areas and breathing points. Use, like, as I said, we do have a style guide. So we use lists, we use bullet points, we don't use long sentences, we make sure that the document has a flow. And just think about, I always like, I remember telling a colleague, like, I like to write stories. And I think of dogs as stories. You're like telling a story and you want to entertain people. So think about that when you're writing a dog. Don't think about, oh, I just want to get rid of it and get the content out there. Just like make it fun. It's very interesting. About reading bad dogs, well, that's the challenge. Just be very patient, because sometimes for any reasons you need to deal with like something that's not easy to read. It's like reading a bad history book. I don't have many good advices about that. Just like deal with it.
I would like to add that Anna mentioned, I like writing stories, and a good example is when you need to write examples of how to use an API, because we think of the technical documentation of an API as just documenting each field and documenting each endpoint. But in the end, you probably need to use a combination of endpoints to achieve a purpose, to make a change on the product or whatever. And this is where the story part comes. And this is when it needs to make sense. And as a product manager, I usually like to make sure that our users have this flow in the documentation that they can follow easily, that they understand what they're doing, and it's easy for them to understand. And when our engineers, sorry, Miriam, I'm generalizing here, but sometimes when our engineers send us drafts of documents, you don't get anything. You just see examples of calls with fields and things that, what's this? And then this is why the technical writer is adding the story there.
Yeah, sometimes we are terrible. So we need our copywriters.
We've got lots of comments actually coming in. Someone said, when I was at Ladbrokes, our customers were the shop staff and we absolutely had technical writers. So it very much depends on the business. Someone else saying, I can tell you that in international companies in Barcelona, like Microsoft, New Relic, ThoughtWorks, Ocado, you don't need Spanish or Catalan. Won't be an obstacle if you match the profile. I'm also going to link to a really good YouTube video of someone. She describes herself as a technical writer, but actually she does a lot of cartoons, and it's one of the best visualization descriptions I've ever seen of someone learning React. And it's something that at Codebar, if I know anyone is starting to learn React, I always send them this video because it's such a visually intelligent and amazing way of describing React. And so you know, you can bring in other skills as well. You know, if you do cartoonists and draw, you can definitely bring that to the table as well, you know, if you want to become a technical writer. Okay. Sorry. Next question for Judith. Do you often get candidates that disclose that they have a learning disability / problems with attention to HR ahead of an interview? Are interviewers briefed on making adjustments in these cases, or is this something to disclose after you get a job offer? I think this is a really good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So as it's true that it's not really common to find to find people with disabilities during the selection process that are applying directly to the job positions. But for sure, I think that it's a topic to go through, and I think that it's very important to adapt the selection process for each person and to get the same possibilities to everybody, not just with people. I think that people coming with different backgrounds or people coming with different kind of communication skills, not everybody is communicating in the same way. So I think that it's very important to be aware of it and try to be as fair as we can during the selection process. And I think that, well, we have different tools and different frameworks to try to reduce the unfair evaluation during the selection process. But yeah, for sure, it's a topic to go deeply, and I think that it's a very important aspect to take into consideration during the selection process, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. The next question is for everyone. The biggest challenge you've all faced in your role, and how did you overcome it?
Well, this is very recent, but we just changed the content delivery platform in New Relic for docs. And I was very nervous because we've just become open source. We used to work based on a technology called Drupal, and we've moved to GitHub. So I was very, very nervous because I thought it would be very, complex for me to, we work as developers now. So basically anyone in the company or from outside the company can open a pull request on our docs, make changes and send it over. And we need to validate those and then, merge and do, whatever Miriam does probably 1,000 times every day, but that was brand new to me. So I was a little scared, to be honest, and it went really well. The company's been great, training us, giving support, giving us extra time to adjust the new system. So that was a great challenge. And I think we succeeded with very good marks and very good grades. Trust yourself, trust your team. I'm very happy to say that, our company is full of super talented people, and trust yourself. Learn, join trainings, don't get stuck, ask if you have any doubts. That's something that's basic in life, I think. Just be open to new experiences, make questions, don't be afraid, don't be shy, and get in touch with people who can help you, and you'll overcome whatever comes your way. That would be my piece of advice.
The biggest challenge we had recently is all this going everyone remotely. I think all will face the same. And what Anna was saying is just we need the ability to adapt and learn. In this case, we were based in the office, so we were used to work all together synchronously, and then learning how to to work asynchronously, also asynchronously, because you still want to see your colleagues, you still have, want to have contact with them, you will still have meetings, but you also need to learn how to share the information in a way that you don't need to be next to the other all the time. Yeah, we all of us needed to adapt to that, and it has been, I think, one of the biggest challenges I had since I started working in the company or in this industry. No? I think we all share the same.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, I can add something on my side. Yeah, the challenges. Of course, you have technical challenges when you go to a new company and you need to understand who's the user that you're trying to serve, learning about the problem space, learning about technologies and competitors, but that's your job. So that's a challenge, but it's what you need to deal with. I think that the biggest challenge for me has been gaining the trust of my team. And for that, I needed to learn to say, I don't know now. So, because you are actually, the product manager is the person making a lot of decisions constantly. How should we show this in the UI? How should we build this? Does this API need to return this or that field? So we are contributing to all those very small decisions every day. And sometimes you just don't have the answer at that moment. You need to go back and check what customers told you, or check with an architect or with whoever. So it's good to say, I don't know, I need to check, and then come back with an answer that is backed by data and that you can stick to that decision, no? So everyone trusts that you won't be changing your decision every day.
Thank you. Judith, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, one of my biggest challenges, maybe it's to deal with different opinions and different evaluations from people. So one of the biggest things for me is maybe to try to understand the reasons of the people. So I think that in my role, you have to be very collaborative with different people and very adaptive to the changes. Because sometimes when someone is looking for someone for his or her team at the beginning, they are searching for a different thing or for different aspects or characteristics of the person. And during the selection process, they realize that they are searching for a different kind of profile or different kind of person. So you need to deal with a lot of changes during your work. So you have to be very adaptive. And I think that you can have a big tolerance to the frustration. So yeah, one of the biggest things for me is to be adaptive and not try to solve everything. As Helena said, say something, I don't know, it's good and it's positive actually.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next question. How do you recommend approaching the technical interview? And then they've said composing algorithms quickly from a non-traditional computer science background.
Yeah, maybe I can take some recommendations.
Yeah.
The first recommendation is ask what is expected about this technical interview. So ask about the expectations, so you will be able to prepare it properly. So don't be afraid to ask and understand what it's going to be expected about you during this interview. This is something that it's very important to be prepared for the interview.
Yeah. More in the technical part, what I was doing when I was preparing myself for the process of applications, I used these code words. I can find a link. it's kind of a small kata, so what we do is a very small exercise. Usually what they ask is similar, what you can find in some technical interviews, and it's just preparing yourself to solve some of these algorithms. And yeah, it's a good way to train yourself to do this technical part. Yeah, exactly that. Thank you.
I just posted it straight after Vic. Thank you, Vic. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to add to that before I go to the next question? Okay. Question for Miriam. How is your day-to-day? How much of your time is spent coding? How much is non-coding activities?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you can imagine that a software engineer is all the time coding, and my 8 hours I'm just touching the keyboard and coding, and it's not true. Sometimes we need some work in what we call refinement. So we will need to check what are the aspects of the task that we need to do, analyze how we're gonna do it, read the code, find possible solutions, opportunities to improve the code that we already have. We spend some time on doing that in our day-to-day, so it's not always coding. We also spend some time learning, sharing knowledge, reviewing the code of the others, because when we have this pull request from other colleagues, what we do is reading their code and reviewing that everything is okay, testing that everything works. So a part of coding, we also analyze and plan how to make to write the code.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think we've got someone who is potentially interested in moving to Barcelona, because they're asking about what the tech industry is like in Barcelona, and any specific tips if you've got no knowledge of Spanish, Catalan at all.
Well, Barcelona is one of the technical hubs in Europe. So yeah, there are a lot of companies that they are building offices here in Barcelona. It's a very international city. So, well, we have a lot of colleagues that they are not Spanish or Catalan speakers, and that's not a problem. And actually, it's not required in our company or in other companies. So Barcelona is plenty of companies that the main language is English. So yeah, Barcelona is a very international city. So it's not an stop it to not to be a Spanish or Catalan speaker.
Anyone else have anything to add about the Barcelona tech industry or community? They've said tech community and industry.
Yeah, it's what Judith just said. It's a very active community here. A lot of international companies have offices in Barcelona, and most of them, and probably all of them, the official language spoken in the company is English. You don't really need to know Spanish or Catalan to work there. If you're interested in moving in Barcelona, just like look out for opportunities and apply, because you know, language won't be something that will stop you if you speak English, of course.
Perfect. Anything else to add before we move on to the next question?
I would add that I think the pandemic has changed a lot the way that companies are hiring. Maybe Judith can speak to that. I don't think New Relic has officially moved to a remote work policy, but many companies are. So move to Barcelona and then you'll find a job somewhere else, don't worry, because most of us will be working remotely most of the time, probably with distributed teams.
Perfect, thank you. Anything else before we move on? I can't believe how quick the time has gone. We've only got 5 minutes left, it's flown by. Okay, and this is our last question. So we've got 5 minutes left. So if you have got a question, do drop it in now. Otherwise, this will be our last one. Question for Miriam. Do you work with any UI designers? And if you do, how have you found it? And do you have any pointers for someone who might want to join a team of UI designers?
Yeah, we work in our teams. We have UI designers. How I found it? Well, it's needed. So what I was saying, no? I think it's important to build a good product to work all together, starting for the researchers, product managers, of course, designers, the engineers, the architects. So work all together and align to build the best product possible for our customers, our users. For someone that wants to join a UI team, what are any pointers? I don't know, because I'm not a designer, so I cannot really give a lot of advice on. But if as an engineer, I will say if you have a little bit of knowledge of how the code and some parts work, it will make your life better with the communication with engineers. So just a little bit of HTML, CSS, and really basic knowledge of JavaScript will make you a lovely UI designer for your engineers. And yeah, I would say also the opposite. An engineer that knows a little bit or have some knowledge about design, it will work so much better with a designer. So they will have always this like kind of recurrent joke that engineers and designers don't work good together. I have to say that I never had this issue, and yeah, but yeah, I found it in other places.
Thank you so much. Someone has said, can we save and share the chat afterwards? Yeah, thank you, Anna. But what I will do is this is being recorded, and as part of that, it does save the chat. So what I'll do is when I upload this video to YouTube, I will take all the links that we've mentioned in the chat, and I'll put them into the description of the YouTube channel. So yeah, I will, or what I can, let me see if I can save them for you, actually, Catherine, and I will, can I save the file?
I've saved the chat and I've opened most of the links, Kimberly, so I can probably send them to you.
Thank you so much.
The other thing, can I just check? You said that you've recorded it and it saves the chat. Does that mean everything that we've said on here is going to end up on YouTube?
Yes. No, well, the chat won't be going onto YouTube. The chat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No. I'll just take out the links and add them to the description. The only thing that's saved is the video of us talking. The chat does get saved into Zoom, but I'll just download it and take out the links. So don't worry.
Fab. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I had a panic there.
No. Don't worry. Cool. Okay. Well, I don't think we have. Oh, someone has said, hi, Kim. I would like to get in touch with Judith. I'm based in London, but working remotely in Barcelona. I would love to get a job here. Okay, so Leonard, drop me a message on Slack if you're not part of our Slack, and I will put you in contact with Judith.
How do we join the codebar Slack? Because I'm on Slack, but I'm totally not part of the codebar one.
So here's the link here. Oh, make sure it's not a direct message to someone. There you go. I've just dropped it in the chat there. And then in our Slack, there are a bunch of channels that you can join. There's a job board one. There's a help desk one, which is always super active, where you can ask technical questions. There's a career changes one for people who are going through career changes. Yeah, there's a bunch in there that you can join. Well, huge thank you, everyone, for joining today. A huge thank you to all of our panelists and Joe for organising this and bringing our panelists in and organising most of this. So yeah, a huge thank you, and a huge thank you also to everyone for all your wonderful questions.